One of the most important passages in the New Testament with regard to the doctrine of salvation is found in John chapter 11. It has to do with this very familiar scenario of the resurrection of Lazarus from the dead. A couple of points of interest in this passage is twice John is very mindful to let us know that Jesus was moved. He was deeply moved in his spirit. In verse 33 and also in verse 38, John uses this term, deeply moved. Also, the shortest verse in the Bible is John 11:35 that says Jesus wept. Now, we might want to think that Jesus wept because he was sad, very much like some of the Pharisees and the others that were standing around and seeing Jesus cry at the death of his friend Lazarus. Well, that wasn't why Jesus was crying. John is, again, very mindful to let us know, using this term twice, that Jesus was deeply moved. That term, deeply moved, is a term that doesn't express sadness. It's a term that expresses actually hot displeasure and indignation. And so when Jesus came to the tomb of Lazarus, seeing that he was dead, seeing what sin and death had done to his pristine creation, Jesus was deeply moved. He was hotly displeased, and he was indignant. And he was about to do something about death. In fact, he was going to raise Lazarus from the dead. Now, if we go to the end of the book of John, the Gospel of John, John gives us his own thesis statement, the reason for which he wrote the entire Gospel of John. In John chapter 20, verse 31, John says, I have written these things so that you might believe that Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God, and that believing that you might have life through his name. And so you back up to chapter 11 and see, well, why did John write this story? Why did he record this account of the death and the resurrection of Lazarus? If Lazarus is dead, Lazarus is a picture of who and what we are outside of the grace of Jesus Christ, outside of the grace of God. We are, as Paul says in Ephesians 2:1, dead in our trespasses and sins. We're not terminally ill. We're not just very sick. We're not desperately upset. We are dead in sins and trespasses. And so John is painting this picture of the resurrection of Lazarus to show us that this is what salvation is about. Jesus is the Christ, the Son of the living God, the God who brings dead things to life, the God who gives life from the dead. Only God can do that. And Jesus Christ is that God incarnate, come to save us. That's why John 11 is recorded, to picture our salvation in Jesus Christ.